So I have the responsibility of taking you and entertaining you for the last 10 minutes of the evening. And I'm going to keep it extremely personal, right? I've been in the world of sustainability for about 24 years. Most people 24 years ago did not realize sustainability was still an English term and it was non-technical at all, right? But there are a few first remarks that I'd like to make. I'm extremely thankful to Tava and to Uma for reaching out to me and basically assuming that I will add some value to the time here. I'm also extremely thankful to Raghu for introducing me to Lotus Caring Hands as one of the prime patrons. And I see a lot of work that's being put together over decades now. I'm most thrilled actually to have witnessed all of you speak on stage. I'm most thrilled because I'm an eternal optimist and I believe only in the power of youth. Speaking of PD and her PhD thesis, there were so many terms that were thrown around here, right? And one of the things that I think I qualify to stand here with all of you and give is that I have 51 PhDs that have mentored under me. And I can assure you this without a doubt, that the success rate in PhD completion and PhD enrollment in this country is about 34%, and where I come from, which is Stockholm, Sweden, it is 21%. So if I have 52 PhDs that have mentored under me, then I have 178 students that enrolled with me. And that carries a lot of weight, not because of the success or failure rate, but that carries the weight of technical responsibility for livelihood. So actually I'm going to take everybody back, and this is not age or culture dependent. So what I'm going to talk about today is three important things. There is purpose, there is being driven, and there is impact. And honestly, all of you this evening who gave your amazing life experiences and the audience who heard it, I would like you to refocus and ask yourself these questions for yourself. It's not for students alone. I beg to differ. Each one of us has a reason for our own existence, and the day we start asking ourselves these questions, what is it that we bring? Not to anybody else, to yourself. Are you a better person next quarter, next year? And if so, why and where? If not, how can you be that? They say that when you're in the field of food, which is very dear to all of us, thanks to the Tamil lineage, you have to start at the seed. And if you just use that one example, the seed is yourself. You're busy projecting yourself the way you think you will be most accepted, appreciated, loved, and adored, but are you doing this to yourself, or is it only for the outside world? So I would love for all of you to draw down and draw back into introspection. There was a reason why I had that, that photograph there. Human beings, who are supposed to be the epitome of the thinking process, have proven that we're going the other way around. We have become a huge action-packed mechanism. We very, very casually and very irrelevantly just assume that this action follows the other. We seldom start thinking. And I'm saying this as a genre across culture. Having been with students who come for very, very professional PhD courses, their work of research actually only means searching. And we missed that plot completely. We are busy doing data analytics, and like all the other speakers spoke, we're busy talking about the bling factor and the stars and all that intelligence. Essentially, what we really need to do is search and search and search again. How many of us ever understand if I have to take a blind random test, when was the last time you actually thought about something very consciously? Because thinking is a very intricate science, lost in the mire of what is now called global professionalism. So here is thinking for you from a PhD perspective. There are three aspects to thinking. There's internalization, there is investigation, and finally what we all assume thinking to be is introspection. That's the last bottom. We all jump to the end because we love the stars and the stripes, right? We don't like the hard work. So internalization, to be very academic for all of you, is what you know, what you know you don't know, and the large component is what you don't know at all. Just these three questions starts the process of thinking. Of course, we don't know that yet. This is what I'd like all of you in this room, especially students who want to talk about their life and their career and what path to actually start with. The next step, which most of us in our graduation stage are exposed to, is investigation. What are you investigating? Who you are, why you are who you are, and how you are the way you are. And psychologists, if there are any in this room, will tell you that there are tried and tested mechanisms that help you understand and investigate yourself. Why is this important? This is most important to understand who you are when you're most uncomfortable. Doing what you like to do, doing it with a lot of passion, and I love the fact that each speaker here shared their passion for what they want to do. One of them even said, I think it was Jana, that what you're good at might not be what you're fit for. This evolution of ourselves is a clear reflection that we are a body of intelligence that is constantly being evolved with time. What you're exposed to changes your perception. What your perceptions are today will alter itself based on your experience. This is the true essence of thinking through your life. Again, don't do it for anybody else. You don't have to do it over the fear of Amma and Appa sending you to classes over Saturday. Do it for yourself. Because if you can better yourself at being a better person, you will be a better professional. And if you're a better professional, you will have a better impact. We are not taught this anywhere. There was a time and age, today, in the latter half of my 50s, I can very safely tell you, once upon a time we were asked, so what is it that you think about this or you think about that? Today, even within your own peer groups, as young as you are, the concept of understanding oneself is sadly lost. Two reasons. One, it's very unglamorous. There's nothing exciting about it. Two, it is scary. How many times have you asked yourself, is this what I really want to do? And then found out, or am I doing it because I think I'm in a safe spot? So I think one of you spoke about comfort zones. And for us to be conveniently unaware that we're only operating within the comfort zone is the danger that you present for your own future. So all of us need to take a deep look at ourselves, not just in the mirror, but within ourselves, to ask this question. And the last one is introspection. Now this is the very famous SWOT analysis that all of you probably have heard of. It's what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what threats do you need to overcome and how, and we still are externalizing all these things. For once, try and internalize it. Ask yourself what you want to do, what are your strengths, and how are they your strengths, and when are they your strengths. This is extremely critical. I know I'm sounding extremely academic, but the tough part is, this is the one thing that nobody ever told you or will tell you, and you've got to figure this whole thing out yourself. My favorite to templatize, because it's extremely important to understand that what I'm telling you could make a great, after-party conversation, right? But if you don't templatize anything, you're never going to stick to it, and if you're never going to stick to it, you're not going to reach the end of the tunnel. So for me, this Japanese word, I'm sure at least a few of you here would have heard, right, is helping you understand and templatize this model. It's called Ikigai, right? What it essentially does is makes you aware of your own worthiness and then decide what do you like your Ikigai to look like today, which is X plus 10 years from today, and X plus 20 years from today. And then, depending on passion, purpose, what you want to really finally be yourself, create a path. All the data analytics professionals here will tell you that this is seldom linear. And I'm glad it's not linear, right? COVID just taught all of us that anything could happen. What was supposed to be extremely comfortable, a good life going on, there'll be a handbrake pulled and you're all going to start reconsidering situations. So understanding your own Ikigai is the very first step to figuring out if you're worth it at all, and if so, why. This will then lead to the last question that Uma was very clear that I kind of speak to you guys about. Here in the UK, thanks to Brexit, a lot of change has come through. We need professionals in all walks of life to be able to put their hand up and say, I will deliver impact, not just for myself, but for my community, and eventually for the council and then the country. This so-called macroeconomic to microeconomic understanding of your own capability and impact is the real reason why you're all staring at 50 years of absolute progress. Only if you know what is your dot in that big graph. It's extremely important to understand this, because if you're not going to be able to do that, you're still going to find a job within a circle of influence that is probably going to have an impact which only you and only you will understand is right or wrong. So why is UK now at the cusp of this development? I come from Stockholm, Sweden, and we've done this about 10, 12 years ago. We kind of created innovation and entrepreneurship as two sides of the same coin. So in Sweden, innovation, which was considered a science and given tons of government support, became part of entrepreneurship. So if innovation and entrepreneurship can be clubbed together and made two sides of the same coin, then everything that I've said so far will make the most understandable impact. Because you will then realize that what you contribute professionally and personally will have to have a ripple effect. That ripple effect is the only reason why you will empower yourself and the ripples that you want to empower to create what is called the avalanche effect. And it should start with absolute everyday affair. And the last speaker so nicely spoke about waste, right? From waste comes energy, and there's a lot of energy in creating waste. If you just look at that one line, you will realize each one of us is contributing to a constant degradation of resources. The chips packet that you eat has a lot of water in it, a lot of transport, a lot of fuel, and a lot of damn energy. And is that energy equivalent to what you're really getting in terms of nutrition and value? Question mark. The data and the analytics behind this whole concept of thinking is, oh wow. So we do find a fix some way or the other. So the impact that I was talking to you about has a three-pronged approach. The science behind having environmental impact, social impact, and economic impact is important for all of us to understand as a metric, because that is our metric for growth. What can we do here? Here is where we start with food. For example, there are billions of pounds being spent now, even under the new government, into segments that they're lagging behind. It's forestry, it's paper, it's food collection, it's waste to energy. It's the question of whether driving electric cars is good for the economy or not. Finally, whatever is good for the economy, is that good for the environment or not? And what environment are we talking about? It is the environment that we constantly abuse and not even stop and reflect. Is that right or wrong? Just so that I can tweak your heads a little more before we're all basking in sunlight. Foam, everybody understands what is foam, right? It's a mixture of a water that becomes a foam because of high pressure air. So it's gaseous matter used as foam. Now foam is one of the most amazing solutions to having plant cover. This is a technical question and a very understandable area of research. Anybody who understands research will tell you that these three things will reduce the wastage in forestry, the wastage in food waste, and all of that. But that requires so many brains to actually work on this and come with a solution. Who provides the solution? Entrepreneurs. If you leave it for only the big companies to solve, then you're constantly searching for a job in a big company, in an environment. Dial back and say, if this is my expertise, you go ahead, create a solution and put it out in the market. You will find people who will fund you, who will back you, and who will make you what you want to be. We're taking a completely radical different route. 2, your value will only increase. So all the soft skills and the hard skills that everybody spoke about today will be put into practice under your own understanding of where you're impacting. Here is where I think the thought process of being able to have singular strategic thought and people behind the thought are so important than just companies. This is the one region where is not promoting entrepreneurship simply because either it's too completely confused how it will lead. 2, it's not bottom up. We need more and more graduates and postgraduates who move away from conventional careers to come and do something here. So for me here, when I say knowledge hustle, UK has the maximum number of incubators across councils and across universities. And because I am an advisor to 16 of those incubators, they're all filled with men over 40. What will you do with someone whose brain is completely matured and cooked up and who thinks, this is all that I want to do? What you need is a 16-year-old saying, I want to take all the wet waste in my house and process it into energy. Will the energy company give me a discount? That's a damn good question to ask. Then there is tech, then there is research, and then there is value. If this is what is taken up as students, which I would really love for all of you to do, you really have a huge, bright future ahead because you're changing the paradigm of the entire community you belong to. This is the last words that I'd like to leave you with, that no matter what you do, find the hustle to better yourself because that hustle will better your community. Thank you.